So now I know what the problem is. What can you do about this, practically speaking, as someone who owns a V12 Jaguar? Well, this is just my view. I'm not an expert, but I do think I have a fair understanding of the issues of this particular engine, and how you can best resolve them as an owner. So first thing to do is flush the coolant multiple times, and regardless of how good it looks or how well serviced you think your particular car is, drop the lower radiator hose. It's on the passenger side, just down there. You undo that clip there, that's that one. Pull the coolant out, refill it with clean water, fire the engine up, get it to temperature, pour it out again, and repeat until it comes out completely clear. This is the first thing everybody should do who owns one of these cars, ideally as soon as you get hold of it. The second thing to do is while you're doing that process, look at flushing the various components. So let's start with the radiator. You remove this hose here, which is the top hose for the right hand bank of the engine, and you remove that hose there, which is the left hand bank of the engine, and you'd push water with a hose pipe into the radiator at that point there and at that point there. And if you can, you'd look to do a reverse flush where you somehow rig a hose up to push water into the bottom of the radiator via the hose down there, effectively reverse flushing it. So flush the radiator through as much as you can, flush the heater core through as much as you can. Heater core is located down here. You can access it via these pipes here or on that side. In my case, I've fitted this additional T-point, you can see there, that's on the coolant return to the heater core. So what I can do is clamp that hose there, just clamp it shut with a pair of hose pliers, and then if I hook a hose pipe up to that point there, that effectively reverse flushes the heater core. So yeah, first step is flush everything multiple times, get it nice and clean. If you want to, you can try a citric acid flush. It's not something I've ever done, but citric acid powder is available quite cheaply on places like Amazon. So what you'd do is you'd mix that up with plain water, fill the engine with it, and run it up to temperature, and then drain it out. And the idea being that the citric acid will help dissolve any rust particulates or any residue you have left over from old coolant changes in there. And of course, while you're going through the flushing procedure, it's important not to forget the expansion tank, which is located just there. Either remove it completely and empty it out, or just lower a hose into it and suck it out. And also the expansion bottle, which goes along that hose there from the expansion tank. It's called the atmospheric recovery bottle, and it's located behind the passenger side in the UK front wheel. So you remove the arch liner and you can access the bottle from there, and again you just remove it from the car, empty it out. It'll often be full of sediment and mud and things. So yeah, that's the first step. Flush system, make sure the coolant's nice and clean, and refill it with a high quality coolant. You could go for anything really in this age of engine, but I use the Fouche Maintain Fricofin, I think it's called, the blue coolant. So do that. Second thing I think is advisable is to test your thermostats. So you've got one thermostat located in there. You remove those bolts from where the hose connects, and the other one is the other side of the engine, located just behind there where the radiator hose attaches. So remove both those thermostats, take them inside to your cooker, put them in some cold water and put them on the boil, ideally with a temperature probe in the water. And basically the idea is you observe them visually and check that they open up equally and open up at the appropriate temperature. It should be between 83 and 88 degrees centigrade, something like that. But you're just making sure they're not seized up basically, or you don't have one lazy one and one that's working fine. This is another inherent problem in the Jaguar XJS cooling system really, in that each bank of the engine is effectively temperature controlled independently due to the thermostats on each side. And in addition to that, the way the radiator is laid out, you have the left-hand bank inputting to the top of the radiator there. It flows along what is effectively a closed off section of the radiator, the top third, to this side, where it combines with this right-hand bank coolant flow. Then all of that collective coolant is mixed together in the tank this side. It all flows through the bottom 2/3 of the radiator before flowing out of that large hose and back into the water pump. So if you think about how this works, you've got a low pressure from the water pump here in the corner of the radiator, pulling on coolant from this hose and this hose. You've effectively got differential pressures between this side of the engine and this side of the engine. So, you know, the coolant from this block will effectively have a greater pull on it via this hose than it will on that side, because that coolant has further travel. So that's another thing that makes these coolant systems potentially fairly marginal if you don't maintain them. It can become, you know, you can imagine a perfect storm of dissimilar metals, bad maintenance, marginal cooling system, lazy thermostats. So it's really important that you keep on top of basically everything involved in the system. If you want to go to additional measures, and I recommend you do this based on my experience, you remove the water pump. That's that item in the middle of the screen there, and either side you can see there's one bit here where these bolts are. Just behind here there is a coolant entrance into the block. So if you remove the water pump and the radiator at the same time, you can get in here and effectively think of it like flushing the block out. You can stick a hose in there and force water into the block. You can also force water into the block via the thermostat housing, and it will kind of reverse flush, you know, back this way and back round and out of this area. So it's something worth considering if you think your cooling system's been particularly badly maintained. Final things I'd recommend, aside from regularly changing your coolant once you've reached a stable situation with it, is to look to upgrade to electric fans. I will do a separate video on my cooling strategy for those, i.e. which fans I'm using and how I'm actuating them, etc. But yeah, I hope that helps. That's a quick overview of the issues that can arise due to this design Jaguar utilised, and what you as an owner can potentially do to make sure your engine doesn't succumb to the issues of overheating, which on the Jaguar V12 all aluminium engine with cast iron cylinder blocks can be a real major issue. I'd love to know what the scrap value of a V12 engine is. There's a lot of aluminium in there.